What if I told you the collapse of a grandiose narcissist has nothing to do with them feeling guilty or seeing the error of their ways? Have you ever seen a powerful, arrogant person who commands every room they enter suddenly become a fragile, self-pitying victim overnight? It's a jarring transformation, and it's designed to be. In this video, we're going to break down the unbelievable shift from a grandiose to a vulnerable narcissist, and I'll show you why this isn't a change of heart, but a desperate pivot to regain control. It's one of the most confusing and emotionally draining experiences you can have. Watching someone you know as supremely confident suddenly crumble into a heap of insecurity and self-pity. You might think they've finally had a breakthrough, that they're seeing themselves clearly for the first time. But in the world of narcissism, things are rarely what they seem. This isn't a moment of genuine self-reflection. It's the catastrophic failure of a psychological defense system, triggering a manipulative pivot from one form of control to another. To really get what's happening, you have to understand that we aren't talking about two different people, but rather two faces of the same underlying disorder. On the surface, grandiose and vulnerable narcissists look like polar opposites. In reality, they are two sides of the same counterfeit coin, both driven by self-centeredness, entitlement, and a profound lack of empathy. The real difference is in their strategy. The grandiose narcissist is the one we all picture. They're extroverted, charming, and relentlessly self-promoting. They seem to have unshakable self-esteem and are often found in leadership roles, thriving on public admiration. Think of the charismatic CEO, the politician who acts like a savior, or the influencer whose life is a perfectly curated performance of success. Their personality is often characterized by high extroversion and low neuroticism, meaning they appear socially dominant and emotionally stable. But this entire persona is just a fortress built to protect an ego more fragile than glass. Then you have the vulnerable narcissist, often called the covert narcissist. These individuals tend to be more introverted and are strongly associated with higher levels of neuroticism, appearing anxious, shy, and hypersensitive. Instead of boasting, they express their entitlement through a sense of being misunderstood or victimized by a world that just doesn't get how special they are. They crave validation just as desperately as the grandiose type, but their main strategy is to get it through sympathy and pity. Theirs is a quiet, resentful superiority, hidden behind a mask of fragility. Now here's the twist. These aren't always two separate people. Research suggests that narcissistic traits can fluctuate, and a person can shift between these grandiose and vulnerable states. It isn't a personality transplant. It's what happens when one mask breaks and another one has to be put on, fast. A grandiose narcissist's world is built on a foundation of external validation, something psychologists call narcissistic supply. This supply can be anything from praise and admiration to fear and control. It's the fuel that powers their inflated self-image. So what happens when that fuel line gets cut? This is what's known as a narcissistic injury. And it's not just a minor insult. It's an event that shatters their illusion of superiority and confronts them with a reality they can't spin or deny. It's a psychological death blow. Common triggers for this kind of injury include public humiliation, being exposed for a lie, a failure, or an unethical act, a major life failure, getting fired from a high-status job, going bankrupt, or failing at something they staked their identity on, rejection or abandonment, being left by a partner, especially for someone else, or being cut off by their children, a loss of control, realizing they can no longer manipulate or dominate the people around them. When a grandiose narcissist suffers an injury this big, the facade of superiority just can't hold. Their house of cards, built on lies and the admiration of others, comes tumbling down. They can't bully their way out of it, and they can't deny it. The gap between their inflated self-image and the undeniable truth becomes a chasm. This is the moment the collapse begins. The narcissistic collapse is not a subtle shift. It's a dramatic and often scary psychological implosion. The person who once seemed invincible and totally free of self-doubt suddenly becomes its complete opposite. During a collapse, they adopt the traits of the vulnerable narcissist with shocking speed. They become intensely anxious and paranoid. Their outward confidence is replaced by a crippling sense of shame, depression, and hopelessness. They'll often withdraw from social life, isolating themselves to avoid any more hits to their ego. You might see them have uncharacteristic displays of emotion, crying and complaining about how unfairly they've been treated. They may express deep feelings of helplessness, appearing utterly broken. To an outsider, especially someone who has been waiting for the narcissist to show a little humility, this can look like a breakthrough. It can even look like remorse. You might feel like this is your chance to finally connect with them on a real human level. But this is a dangerous misinterpretation. The collapse is not a moment of clarity. It's a breakdown of their psychological defenses. The vulnerability you're seeing isn't a sign of growth. It's the raw, unfiltered exposure of the fragile inner self their grandiosity was built to hide. They aren't healing, they're hemorrhaging. And in this desperate state, they reach for their last and most powerful weapon, pity. This is the most critical part to understand. The shift to vulnerability isn't just a passive state of misery. Whether it's a fully conscious strategy or a deeply ingrained, subconscious survival tactic, it becomes a powerful tool to regain control. When they can no longer command admiration, they pivot to elicit sympathy. By portraying themselves as the ultimate victim, they achieve several goals at once. 1. They deflect all responsibility. In their new story, they aren't the cause of their own downfall. They're the target of jealous rivals, a cruel world, or your disloyalty. They are the wounded party, so they can't be held accountable. 2. They test your loyalty and try to reel you back in. The collapse is a powerful test to see who will rush to their side. By becoming a pathetic, wounded creature, they manipulate the empathy of those around them. Anyone who tries to rescue them is re-identified as a source of supply. 3. They weaponize guilt. They will make you feel responsible for their pain. Their suffering becomes a silent accusation against anyone who isn't actively consoling them. Guilt is a powerful leash, and they know how to use it. This vulnerable phase is a frantic scramble to rebuild their defenses. They are sourcing a new kind of narcissistic supply. Pity, concern, and the power comes from having others cater to your fragility. Once they feel their ego has been patched up, once they've gotten enough attention, feel stable again, the grandiosity will return. Sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, but it will return. The confident, entitled persona will re-emerge, often acting as if the collapse never even happened. And those who rush to their aid are often left feeling confused, used, and completely drained. Been in a relationship with someone who does this, your confusion is completely valid. This cycle is designed to be disorienting. It exploits our most basic human instincts, our empathy for someone in pain and our desire to believe in the good in others. When you see someone who has caused so much hurt suddenly appear broken, it's natural to feel a surge of hope. You think, finally, they see it. This is the moment things will change. You invest your energy, your compassion, and your forgiveness, believing you are helping them heal. But you are not participating in their healing, you are being used as a tool in their ego reconstruction. The feeling of being used is profound when the grandiosity inevitably comes back. You're left questioning your own judgment. The narcissist might even act like their vulnerable breakdown never happened, a tactic that can feel like a form of gaslighting that makes you question your own reality. Understanding this cycle isn't about becoming cynical or cold. It's about protecting yourself with knowledge, recognizing the transformation from grandiose to vulnerable not as a change of heart, but as a shift in manipulation tactics, is the first step toward reclaiming your own emotional well-being. The transformation from a grandiose to a vulnerable narcissist is not a journey toward authenticity. It's a dramatic fall from a self-made throne, followed by a desperate crawl into a victim-shaped foxhole. It is a cycle of ego inflation, catastrophic injury, manipulative collapse, and eventual reinflation. Understanding this pattern is your shield. It demystifies the behavior, stripping it of its power to confuse and control you. The collapsed narcissist doesn't need a savior, they need a new source of supply. By recognizing the performance for what it is, you can choose not to audition for the part. You can step away from the stage and protect your own peace. And that is an act of self-preservation that is not just powerful, it's essential. The dynamics of narcissistic relationships are incredibly complex and isolating. If you've experienced this kind of behavior, please consider sharing your story in the comments below. Reading about the experiences of others can be a powerful reminder that you are not alone, and your insight could be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Thanks for watching. If this helped you understand yourself or others a little better, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel. Each one is designed to deepen your awareness and support your growth. For more in-depth guides, tools, and resources, visit psychanatomy.com. Psychanatomy, where awareness becomes transformation. See you in the next video.